What's going on? This is Jerry at Wealth Dynamics. Hope you're having a good day today. I wanted to give you a quick video and actually share with you how I used the Sacred account to pay off my debt. So if we rewind back several years, I had debt, trying to figure out how to pay off the debt, and the problem I had run into is I was a Dave Ramsey guy at the time, right? So my mission was put every single dime that I had towards paying off debt, get out as rapidly as possible. Right, so I would basically do that. So I would have, let's say, for example, I had $10,000 of debt, and I probably had more than that between cars, credit cards, etc. But I would put all of my income towards that debt. Okay, now the problem that I ran into was that because I was putting all of my money to that debt, I was putting income towards it. This was my income. I didn't have income left to go towards savings because I had it all going towards my debt. Right, so I had no savings happening. Because I had no savings happening, this was classic. I would pay off the debt, be doing great. I get a couple of chunks paid off, and then something would happen, and I wouldn't have savings. I'd have an emergency come up or whatever it might be. I would have to pay all of that emergency on that cost back with my credit card and go back into debt. Okay, it was frustrating. I remember like thinking like, man, I'm killing it. We're making progress, and then all of a sudden, boom. I'm back in debt. Everything I just paid off is there again, right? And so I was really frustrated. I actually kind of lost hope because it was like, man, my attention was on I wanted to be financially free, but I couldn't even manage to get myself out of debt. That's how frustrated I was. And so what I did is I actually started researching debt. I was like, all right, well, what is debt, right? Where does debt come from? How do I get in debt? And so what I came to was the conclusion that debt is what happens. It's what I acquire when I don't have money, so I have to use somebody else's. And then because I didn't have money, I didn't pay that person back. I didn't pay that institution back. That's where debt comes from. So I can't fix debt by paying off debt because that's not what caused the debt. If I really want to fix debt, I have to fix what caused my debt. What caused my debt was no money. I didn't have money, and therefore I couldn't actually get out of debt. So what I did was this. I actually started working on getting money. Now I want to show you this because this is something that I really benefited from when I learned. So when I borrow money, let's say I have my debt here. Let's say that I have $10,000 in debt. Let's say that it's a car note. It's at 5% interest. And let's say that it's costing me $350 a month. I think the interest is the issue, right? Like as a consumer, that was what I thought was the problem. I was like, man, the reason I don't want to have debt is because I don't want to pay interest. That was my thought at that time. But the truth is that the interest was a modifier. A modifier is something that actually is added on, and it lengthens the period that I'm in debt for. The problem was not the interest. The problem was that the bank had figured out how to get $350 a month of my income for the next 7 years of my life. If they had $350 a month of my income, guess who didn't have that income? Me. So guess who wasn't saving? Me. And if I'm not saving, I'm not investing, then I'm not building wealth. So when I'm in debt, I have to be thinking about it like this. This is a $10,000 asset. Okay, if I owe the bank 10 grand, that means that I am a $10,000 asset to the bank. Right now, I cash flow for them $350 per month. That's a really good rate of return. I know people that buy real estate and on a single family home or a duplex, they don't cash flow $350 a month. But the bank is, and on top of that, their internal rate of return on me is 5% interest on what I'm giving them to lengthen the amount of time I give them that money. So when I'm paying off debt, I actually have to be thinking like an investor. I have to be thinking about, I'm investing. If I invest, I'm going to take 10,000 of my dollars, I'm going to invest to pay off that money so I can get my cash flow back so that I can save the interest. Right? But I have to ask myself, am I solvent enough to invest? So if you're in debt like I was, I want you to think about when I'm paying off my debt, am I in a position to invest right now? Right? Like if I took the debt out of the equation and I just asked, should I make a $10,000 investment? Should I take 10 grand of mine and go stick it in the stock market? Should I take 10 grand of mine and put it in mutual funds or put it in real estate? I would have to go back to the question of, well, how much other money do I have? Because if it's my only 10 grand, then no, I shouldn't do that because then I would be broke. And if I'm broke, I'm going to end up debt or broke even more, right? So I have to look at it like an investment. So what I did is I set up a sacred account. Sacred account, it's a life insurance policy I'm putting money into every single month. And what I did is I lined my debts up, smallest balance to largest balance. So we have two sides here. Let's say that my first debt was $1,000. Let's say my second debt was $2,000. Let's say my third debt was, what is that? 2 plus 2, that's 3. Let's say the other one is 5,000. And then let's say that I have another one for 500. And let's do one more for 500. That should add up to my 10,000. So I've got all of these debts lined up, smallest to largest balance. I've got a 500, I've got a 500, I've got 1,000. So there's 1,000, 1,000, 2,000 I've got so far. What do I have? 2,000, 2,000. So let's make this a 6. Now I have my 10,000, right? So each of these debts is lined up smallest balance to largest balance. I'm only paying the minimums. So let's say that this is 25 bucks. This is 25 bucks. Let's call this one, this is 1,000. So let's call this one 50. Let's call this one 100. And let's call this one 300. These are the numbers, the amount that I'm paying per month on these debts right now. And those are just my minimums. I'm not putting extra money towards my debt. This is what I did. I paid just my minimums. Any extra money I had, I funneled into the sacred account. So let's say that I had $500 a month that I have left over. Like that's my cash flow left over after I pay my bills. That 500 goes into the sacred account. Okay, what happens is as soon as that 500 goes to the sacred account, it starts growing at a tax-free rate of 3 to 5% compounding interest. This is gains. This is growth, right? So my $500 is now earning 3 to 5% compounding interest. It's growing at that amount. As soon as I have enough in my balance in my sacred account to pay off my smallest debt, I'm going to borrow that $500 out at 2 to 3% interest. Okay, so pause here. What is 3 to 5 minus 2 to 3? That means that I am earning more than I'm making. I'm earning more than I'm paying. Sorry, I'm earning more in interest than I'm paying in interest to borrow this money. The reason why that's important is I'm going to borrow this 500 and I'm going to wipe out my smallest balance. Okay, and while I've done that, my $500 is still growing. You guys catch that? Now this $25 a month that I've just freed up, I'm going to start paying that into my sacred account as well. Now I'm going to snowball even faster to pay off the next one. I pay off that one, now I have $50 extra that's going into my sacred account. I'm going to stack up even quicker to go to the third. I'm going to pay that off. That's another 50. Now I'm doing 100 a month into it. And I just continue doing that until I pay off all of my debt. Now here was the result that I got. All the reasons I would get out of debt did happen. I paid off my debt. I freed up all my payments. I'm no longer paying interest. But all of that money that I initially tagged to the sacred account first is now going to compound at 3 to 5% interest forever. Okay, I'm getting future value on that money. It'll grow for me forever. Like it'll never stop. And now that I'm out of debt, I have all of this money that did grow for me while I was paying my debt off. So now I'll never go back in debt again because I was solvent. I had savings. I had money left over at the end. Now I can look at investing. See, the way that I was doing it before, again, just to recap, is that I was paying everything I had towards my debt. I wasn't saving. And the problem I was causing was that because I wasn't saving, I would go back in debt. And the main problem that would have happened if I kept doing that is even if I paid off my debt, I would have been debt-free with no money. I wouldn't have been able to invest. I still would have risked going back in debt. Versus this method, I'm paying off all my debt, but I have money. If something happens, I can borrow from my sacred account instead of pulling out money and putting it on my credit card again. Right? So I have money to keep myself sheltered as I pay my debt down, but I'm getting future growth on that money too. When I'm done, I've got this chunk of money that's grown. I can use that to invest. I can use that to build wealth for my future today. So I wanted to share this with you. I hope that this was beneficial. If you want to learn more about this, you can go to sacredaccount.com. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you soon.